In a world addicted to patterns, routines, and predictable outcomes, there's always one figure who slips through the cracks, the pattern breaker. Most men follow the script society has pre-written for them, climbing the corporate ladder, seeking approval from peers, and measuring success by how loudly the world applauds. They compete for status like it's a limited resource, bending their identities to fit into molds they never questioned. But then there's him, a man who doesn't play the game, yet somehow ends up ahead without even looking like he tried. He refuses the leash, whether it's braided from money, social clout, or desire. This man is the black swan of human behavior. You can't predict his moves, you can't fit him into a category. And the moment you think you understand him, he's already moved 3 steps ahead, operating in a place you didn't even know existed. The term black swan comes from Nassim Nicholas Taleb's work on rare and unpredictable events that have massive consequences, historically dismissed as impossible until they happen. In human terms, the Sigma male is that event. He's the deviation that makes the standard path look fragile and uninspired. You won't see him charging into the spotlight, you won't hear him demanding attention. But when he acts, the effects ripple outward, not with the chaos of noise, but with the precision of silence. Society thrives on systems, hierarchies, rituals, and rules telling people what to value and how to live. The Sigma male doesn't reject these systems out of rebellion. He simply operates outside them because he doesn't need them. He navigates the unmarked trails others are too hesitant to explore, existing in the space between societal lines. To most, he's invisible, but to those who notice, he's unforgettable. Understanding the Sigma male as the black swan isn't about glorifying an internet stereotype. It's about recognizing a mindset forged through discipline, observation, and complete self-ownership. In a culture built to keep people predictable through validation and fear, his independence isn't just unusual, it's disruptive. And disruption, when combined with quiet confidence, can be more powerful than any status, title, or crowd's approval. Number 1, self-reliance over dependency. He doesn't need a safety net of constant approval or a crowd to validate him because his identity is rooted in self-awareness rather than external applause. In psychology, this is often linked to a belief that one's life is shaped by personal choices and efforts rather than by fate or other people's opinions. While most people are conditioned from childhood to seek validation through grades, social likes, promotions, or the nod of approval from peers, he operates differently. His worth is defined by his own standards, not society's scoreboard, and that's not arrogance. It's emotional independence. This trait is rare in a world where dopamine hits from social media have rewired millions to equate worth with visibility. He measures success not by how many cheer for him, but by whether he is staying true to his principles. Imagine a rock climber scaling a cliff alone without a crowd at the bottom chanting his name. He still reaches the summit because the climb itself was the reward. Research on self-determination theory shows that individuals driven by intrinsic motivation, like personal growth, curiosity, and mastery, are more resilient and experience longer-lasting satisfaction than those chasing extrinsic rewards like money, fame, or approval. This mindset allows him to navigate setbacks without crumbling because his self-esteem isn't rented from others, it's owned outright. It's why he can walk away from toxic environments, decline offers that compromise his integrity, and avoid trends that don't align with his values. History is full of such figures, from Nikola Tesla, who ignored mainstream ridicule while pioneering technologies decades ahead of his time, to Leonardo da Vinci, whose relentless curiosity often led him to abandon popular commissions to pursue ideas the world wasn't ready for. These individuals understood that being anchored to your own compass is more valuable than being swept along by public opinion. In a way, his independence makes him unshakable because no applause means he's not distracted and no criticism means he's not derailed. It's not that he rejects all feedback, he's open to learning, but he filters it through his own principles before accepting it as truth. In a society obsessed with external validation, this inner-directed approach is both liberating and intimidating to others. It's why he stands out without trying, why he can work in silence yet still have the room notice when he walks in. He doesn't live to impress, he lives to express the truest version of himself. Number 2, strategic detachment. He's not cold, he's calculated. In a world where most people scatter their attention like confetti, he's the man who moves with precision. Like a sniper choosing a single bullet, he selects where to invest his time, energy, and emotions with surgical accuracy. This isn't about being heartless, it's about understanding the finite nature of personal resources. Psychology refers to this as emotional bandwidth, the limited capacity we have for processing and engaging with the people and situations around us. Just as a sniper studies wind direction, distance, and timing before pulling the trigger, he evaluates the potential outcomes of every interaction before committing himself. This calculated approach is backed by science. Studies on decision-making reveal that those who take longer to assess situations often make more accurate and rewarding choices than those who act impulsively. His detachment isn't apathy, it's strategy. He understands that constantly saying yes leads to burnout, scattered priorities, and diminished effectiveness. Instead, he says no to 90% of what crosses his path so that the 10% he commits to receives his full power and focus. This is the same principle elite athletes use when training. They don't try to master every sport at once, they pick their battles and go all in. People often mistake this intentional selectiveness for arrogance or aloofness, but in truth, it's a form of self-respect. By protecting his energy, he ensures he has the mental clarity and emotional stability to show up fully where it matters most. In business, this is akin to focusing on high ROI investments, pouring resources only into what yields the greatest return. In relationships, it means surrounding himself with people who uplift and challenge him rather than drain him. In life, it's about choosing purpose over impulse, meaning over noise. That's why when he engages, people notice. His words carry more weight, his actions hit harder, and his presence feels more valuable because it's rare. Like a master chess player, he's always thinking 3 moves ahead, not because he fears the game, but because he respects it. And in a culture obsessed with constant motion, his ability to pause, aim, and fire only when necessary is not just a skill, it's his quiet superpower. Number 3, purpose over popularity. While others drift toward what's trending, the Sigma's compass is fixed on what matters to him, a direction that rarely shifts with the winds of public opinion. Trends by nature have a short shelf life. They spike in popularity, dominate conversations, and then fade into obscurity, often within months or even days. But the Sigma operates on a different wavelength. His focus is on building things that will outlast the hype cycle, projects, skills, and ambitions crafted with the patience of an artisan and the vision of a strategist. This mindset is rooted in an understanding of how value works over time. Sociologists note that while most people are influenced by what's known as social proof, the psychological tendency to copy what others are doing, Sigmas tend to be internally motivated, setting goals based on their own logic, passion, and principles, rather than external validation. This is why a Sigma might spend years quietly mastering a skill that no one pays attention to now, knowing it will pay off when the rest of the world catches up. History is filled with figures who operated this way. Nikola Tesla, who pursued innovations decades ahead of his time, or J.R.R. Tolkien, who spent more than a decade crafting The Lord of the Rings without chasing literary trends. Psychologists might call this low conformity and high conscientiousness, but for the Sigma, it's simply how he's wired. He's not allergic to recognition, he just doesn't measure his worth by it. While others pivot every time the crowd changes direction, the Sigma keeps walking his own path, trusting that the seeds he plants today will bear fruit tomorrow. This approach is not only more stable, but also often more profitable in the long run. A skill built over a decade will outlast the popularity of a social media dance challenge. A business rooted in solving real problems will endure long after the latest viral product fizzles out. The Sigma understands that applause is fleeting, but mastery is permanent. So while the world chases trends like waves on the surface of the ocean, the Sigma moves like the deep current beneath, steady, powerful, and destined to reshape the shoreline in his own time. Number 4, silent power in social settings. He can walk into a room and dominate it without saying a single word, not because he's trying to, but because his presence speaks louder than noise ever could. This isn't some mystical aura that only a chosen few are born with. It's a deliberate blend of calm body language, sharp observation, and the rare ability to stay grounded in a world addicted to performance. Psychologists have long noted that confidence is often communicated non-verbally. And studies on body language show that open posture, steady eye contact, and controlled movements signal dominance and self-assurance. But what sets him apart is the lack of desperation behind it. He's not performing for approval, he's simply existing in his own space with ease. This refusal to compete for attention works like reverse psychology on the human mind. In social dynamics, the scarcity principle suggests that people value what is rare, and in a room full of voices fighting to be heard, the man who doesn't push becomes the most intriguing. His deep observation plays an equally crucial role. By taking a moment to scan the environment, notice who's aligned with whom, and pick up on micro-expressions, he positions himself with a strategist's awareness. Research on social perception shows that people who observe before engaging often make a stronger impact when they finally speak because their contributions feel intentional and precise. Meanwhile, his calm energy creates what behavioral scientists call emotional contagion. Others unconsciously mirror his relaxed state, making him the silent anchor of the room. This mix of presence, patience, and self-control is why he doesn't need to outshine anyone. People naturally turn toward him. It's the same principle that makes a still lion more commanding than a barking dog, the quiet power of knowing you could roar but choosing not to. And while many chase the spotlight, he understands a deeper truth. In high-value social situations, influence isn't about being the loudest. It's about being the one who makes others feel they've just encountered someone worth remembering. This is why when he finally speaks, the room listens. Not because they have to, but because they want to. His silence isn't emptiness. It's a canvas on which everyone else's curiosity paints the picture. Number 5, respect without submission. A true Sigma male approaches respect not as a bargaining chip, but as a baseline principle. He treats people well because it aligns with his values, not because he's angling for favors or trying to secure a higher rung on the social ladder. This sets him apart in a world where too often respect is conditional, granted to those above in rank and withheld from those perceived as beneath. Sociologists have long observed that in hierarchical systems, individuals often adjust their behavior depending on the power dynamic, a phenomenon known as status accommodation. Alphas may expect deference and betas may expect guidance or dominance. But the Sigma male sidesteps both traps entirely. His respect is steady, grounded in his own moral compass rather than the shifting winds of social position. This independence makes him immune to power games. He neither grovels to authority nor condescends to those with less influence. In fact, his ability to stand before an alpha without bowing and to engage with a beta without patronizing unsettles people who rely on predictable patterns of dominance and submission. It's a kind of social aikido. By refusing to play the game, he removes the opponent's ability to win or lose against him. Psychologists might describe this as autonomous self-regulation, where one's actions are guided internally rather than manipulated externally. This approach also gives the Sigma a unique advantage. He can form authentic connections across all levels of a hierarchy because his behavior doesn't shift with status. People sense that he is genuine, which fosters trust, even if they can't quite figure out his angle, mainly because he doesn't have one. In workplaces, this might mean he speaks to the CEO with the same tone and candor as he does to the janitor, a move that often earns both admiration and confusion. In friendships, it manifests as consistent loyalty without hidden agendas. The Sigma's quiet refusal to be swayed by titles or positions not only keeps him grounded, but also shields him from the toxic politics that can drain others. In a culture obsessed with climbing ladders, his calm detachment is almost rebellious. He's not against progress, but he refuses to sacrifice his authenticity for the illusion of power. And that, ironically, gives him more influence than those frantically competing for it. Number 6, walking away as a weapon. When a Sigma male senses that a situation has turned toxic, manipulative, or unproductive, he doesn't waste his energy in endless arguments or emotional tug-of-wars. He simply leaves. This quiet exit isn't a sign of weakness or avoidance. In fact, it's the opposite. Psychologically, it's one of the most powerful responses a person can make. By refusing to engage in drama, he demonstrates what behavioral experts call self-preservation through boundary enforcement. His absence sends a message that resonates far deeper than any verbal counterattack. He is immune to control. Studies in social psychology have shown that withdrawal from a conflict, when done intentionally, can disrupt the manipulator's power because it denies them the fuel they need, your attention and emotional reaction. In a way, it's like oxygen being cut off from a fire. Without it, the flames die out. Sigma males understand that engaging with someone who thrives on chaos only entrenches you deeper into their game. Instead, they operate on the principle of cost-benefit analysis. If a situation costs more in peace, energy, and dignity than it gives in resolution, they walk away. And they do so without theatrics, no slamming doors, no social media outbursts, just a silent, calculated departure. Ironically, this non-reaction often hits harder than any argument could. It unsettles those who expected a fight, because silence denies closure, denies validation, and denies them the satisfaction of knowing they got under your skin. In evolutionary psychology terms, it's a display of autonomy and resource control, the signal that his time, attention, and emotional investment are too valuable to be wasted. That's why his absence feels so heavy. It's not just physical, it's symbolic. It tells people that his identity, stability, and self-worth aren't anchored to anyone else's approval or control. The Sigma male's exit is not an act of running away. It's a statement that he chooses his battles wisely. And some wars simply aren't worth fighting. And while others may spend hours or days trying to prove their point in heated exchanges, he proves his in seconds by walking away. It's not about winning the argument, it's about winning his own peace. That's a victory no manipulator can ever take from him. Number 7, skill mastery as armor. He invests deeply in his craft, knowing that skill is the purest form of independence. True mastery is a currency that never devalues, a shield against the whims of the world. History shows us that the people who shape civilizations, be they inventors, artists, or thinkers, were not those who waited for approval, but those who poured themselves relentlessly into their work until it spoke louder than any introduction could. Think of Leonardo da Vinci, who dissected cadavers to understand anatomy not because he had to, but because his curiosity demanded it. Or Nikola Tesla, who would spend nights in his lab consumed by the vision of a world lit by wireless energy. When you're exceptional at something, you don't need permission to create impact. Your skill becomes the passport that allows you to move freely, unhindered by gatekeepers. In today's world, where algorithms dictate visibility and trends can be manufactured overnight, genuine expertise cuts through the noise. It commands respect even from those who may not like you, because ability is difficult to fake for long. The process of becoming exceptional isn't glamorous. It's built on countless hours of practice, the willingness to fail repeatedly, and the discipline to refine even when no one is watching. But this investment compounds. The more you build your craft, the less dependent you become on validation, resources, or approval from others. A skilled person can step into a room and shift its energy simply by demonstrating competence. People instinctively trust those who have clearly done the work. In a way, mastery is the ultimate form of quiet rebellion. It frees you from having to beg for opportunities because you have the power to create them. The world eventually notices those who consistently deliver excellence, and when it does, the leverage shifts in your favor. This is why the Sigma-type individual doesn't chase the spotlight. He builds something so solid that the spotlight has no choice but to find him. Skill is not just a tool for success. It is the foundation of autonomy, influence, and legacy. Once you have it, no one can take it away without your consent. Number 8, legacy over ego. His ultimate goal isn't to be liked, it's to leave something behind that can't be erased. For a man like this, legacy matters more than popularity. It could take the form of a business that outlives him, a philosophy that reshapes how others think, a body of work that inspires generations, or a societal shift sparked by his actions. History shows us that the most transformative figures, think Nikola Tesla, Marcus Aurelius, or Steve Jobs, often weren't chasing applause. They were driven by an unshakable vision. He understands that empires rise and crumble, and trends fade like yesterday's headlines, but true impact leaves an imprint in the collective memory. This is where the black swan effect comes in, a rare, unexpected event that changes everything, often in ways no one predicted. He may not be the loudest voice in the room, but his actions quietly alter the terrain for everyone else. Decades later, people might not remember his name, but they'll live in the world he helped shape. For him, the aim isn't to be visible today, it's to be undeniable tomorrow, ensuring that his trail remains carved into the landscape of time long after he's gone. A Sigma male can't be controlled because control thrives on predictability, and the Sigma refuses to be predictable. He doesn't just think outside the box, he walks past it without even glancing inside. Like the black swan theory in probability, his actions are rare, disruptive, and impossible to forecast, making any attempt to manipulate him futile. While most follow social scripts written by others, he writes his own and never surrenders the pen. This autonomy is his armor. It keeps him unseen when he chooses, unfazed by trends, and unforgettable to those who try and fail to fit him into a mold.